Well, hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. This is part two of this car's story with us, which has now come to a beautiful, magnificent, utterly satisfying and very good end. And that is the Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 3 Mulliner Park Ward Drophead. And as I mentioned in the first episode, the unusual feature about these cars is the straight-through styling. There is no bulbous rear wheel arch, which even Mercedes have adopted on their CLSs. It's straight through, like a sort of conventional modern car, if I can put it that way. But what is really exciting about this is I obviously spent dedicated a lot of the first video to Steve at Leathercare, who does magnificent leather work. And we can now reveal the interior on this car in its finished, completed, back together state. Craig has rejuvenated the carpets, he's cleaned all those up. Well, it's always a good day in the office when we manage to bring a car back to life, both operationally and visually. And this car probably exemplifies that more than any other I can remember. We had the interior before, it was nice, it was presentable, the leather looked okay, but tired. And then Steve did his magic and we get this. Are you ready for this? Look at that. And just to show the full effect of it, we'll lower the soft top and you can see it in all its glory. Dan, our valeter, has given the paintwork a fantastic spruce up. It's not perfect, there's micro blistering all over it, just with age on the paint. This is a very old paint job, if not the original one that the car was done in. And there's a limit to how hard we can go at the paintwork, because the micro blisters, if you start buffing them too much, you skim the heads off them and you get white speckles. So we've done as good a job as we can on the paintwork, which still looks light years away from where it was. We've treated it to a new set of white-lined radial-ply tyres. They're originally cross-ply, which affects the driving quite drastically. They tend to tram-line and be all over the road on the cross-ply tyres. If you leave them overnight, they develop a flat on where the weight of the car has been resting on the tyre, which takes a few miles to get rid of. If you've left them for weeks, they develop a very big flat, which takes a very long time to get rid of. So there are all the advantages in the world to fitting radial ply tyres instead of the original cross plies on these cars. So we've done that, including the spare, of course, because you cannot have one radial and one cross ply tyre on an axle or any part of the car if you've had a puncture, a blowout, and you have to do a roadside tyre change. The originality, this is a one owner, 26,000 mile car, and the originality just shines through literally now on this car. We've done we've stripped the carburetors on the engine. They were not working properly. I've adjusted the idle mixtures so that the engine is running and idling smoothly, and it will get better with use now. The gentleman who's just bought the car, in other words, its second owner ever, as of a couple of months ago, will start using the car a little bit, but it is original woodwork, original chrome, original, the bodywork underneath is fantastic. There's no welding needed, which is a big thing on these normally. All the trim work inside, apart from the leather, well, even the leather is first leather, as they say in Germany, but it has been Connollyized. But the woodwork, all the fittings are original. It really is something very special, this car. We're going to, now that it's all finished, we'll take it out for a little proving run before the owner gets it back. Well, here we are in this one owner 26,000 mile old Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud 3. There is the small matter of the 60 years as well, and it's it's interesting because a low mileage car of this age has its own peculiar issues and problems, quite often around fuel and the contamination thereof in the tank. Nowadays, quite often with low mileage cars, which are still around, actually, old low mileage classic cars, or high mileage for that matter, that haven't been used, fuel is a major problem. It sort of turns into a horrible black coagulated mess at the bottom of the tank. So we've had to do some trickery with the fuel system on this car, although I have to say it wasn't too bad. Actually, the car has been used of late. But to try and know how to appropriate our work in the right direction is actually very difficult, because we have no idea what we're going to get into when we get the car in. How do we most economically, in terms of bang for buck, spend our hours and the customer's money? And it's a tricky one, but I'd like to think we got it right. Dan, our valeter, has done a fantastic job of bringing up the paintwork. Steve has done a fantastic job of the leather, but we've also been working away, we've been chipping away on the mechanical side of things. We've changed all the fluids. We've done a flush through of the complex braking system, which I covered in an earlier video on the Bentley S2. Very complicated trapeze operated brake mechanism. I've sort of tuned the engine, we've addressed fuel problems, ignition problems, and actually it's driving pretty well, to say the least. All the horrible tram-lining, the sort of this business, all that has gone because of the switch from cross-ply to radial tyres. It really is a no-brainer if you want to drive a car like this. The radial-ply tyres on cars that had cross-plies in the 1960s, Aston Martins, all sorts of things, Facel Vegas, whatever you want, Mercedes, the transition to radial is very, very worth doing. It really is. So yeah, I'm very happy with the way this is just responding to a road test. I really am. Yes, in particular, it's quite tricky. This is the V8 engine version of the Silver Cloud 1, so that they made lots of changes to fit this new V8 engine in the Silver Cloud 2 in 1959. But it's actually very difficult to get the V8 to be well insulated from the cabin. The engine mountings, things like that, the exhaust system actually goes through holes in the chassis, and it can start to touch if it's not perfectly located on the chassis, and you get all sorts of clunks and vibrations. It's all got to be set up like a finely tuned instrument, including the tune of the engine. That's important too. But we've got as far as we can, as I say, without going mad. Now, a little chauffeur's trick, which I was taught years ago, is coming up to a bend just to check the car's weight, take it from 4 down to 3 on the lever here. There we go. Just then into 4th. There we are. And then again down into 3 just to check the weight round the corner. There we go. And I am going to try the acceleration on this car to see if it's up to scratch. Yeah, that's pretty good, actually. It's accelerating cleanly. I'm very happy with that. These engines, the Royce V8s, the L405, they can actually suffer really badly if they don't have antifreeze in them as a corrosion inhibitor to stop the aluminium and the aluminium block and the cast iron liners. What can happen in extreme cases is the liners can actually shrink around the pistons. But no, this is great. It really is. This is driving just about as well as a Cloud 3 of this type would, or a Bentley S3. Considering that we haven't gone crazy with the expenditure on this car, I'm very, very happy that we've got, as Cubby Broccoli used to say about the Bond films, I want every cent or every penny that's been spent on the production of this car on the screen so that people can see it. And it's a bit like that with this car, trying to give the maximum benefit we can for the expenditure. I'm trying to think of the expression. Perceived value, that's it. It's got high perceived value, and that's great. Yeah, considering the state this car was in, I'm delighted with how it's turned out. Absolutely delighted. Again, we'll just give it a bit of a clear out. Yes, pulling beautifully. And the braking system is doing its job. Altogether, rather wonderful. Yep, we'll sign this off. The customer can come and pick it up. Happy days. Well, that concludes another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop video. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll be back with something else very soon.